that's it then. I've done the show. I did the fucking show. Did anyone turn up? What was this show like? You'll have to look at part 4. Nah, you won't. I'll tell ya. Right. 2 people turned up. Both of them from Swindon, as it happened. Ran around like a blue arse fly at the beginning. Thought, oh fuck, this is going to be like the last show. But they were a bit friendlier. They stayed all the way through. They gave me a feeling that they would have stayed anyway. So I did the show. It wasn't a full show. It wasn't dramas and voices as I would usually play them. It was storytelling. But because of my failure stories, I have some nice stories to tell. I have some informative things to tell people about. I don't know what they felt by the end. They were with me all the way through it, but they didn't come up backstage and say that was fucking brilliant. Why should they? They left no money in the umbrella, but I did say at the very beginning how I'd been telling people not to leave money in the umbrella and gave them postcards. And let's get on to the show. After about 10-15 minutes, we hit on the politics. I told them about my campaign, Zero None of the Above. I told them about how during that campaign I told them about the postal votes, the fact that you can throw a postal vote out because the signature doesn't match even when it's the same person and the person won't know about it. I told them how MPs didn't think that was corrupt. I told them how I was in a room of people who were potential MPs and not one of them put their hand up and said, does this mean that people's votes can be cast away that truly were their vote without them actually wanting, without them knowing about it? No one said it. Only me, Zero None of the Above, who got 172 votes. I told them how I spent £500 and lost my deposit. I told them how I put a £10 bet on myself and spent the £500 winnings telling every fucking constituent what I was doing. And still, people only voted for me. 172 people. And some of those who didn't vote for me wrote none of the above. They're all cunts on the voting system, on the voting paper. Even though there was a fucking option on the paper to do so. I told them how there's a teller system, which means effectively that the 3 main parties can have a political advert outside every polling booth because they're the only people that can afford to do it. I told them how they've got the system nailed up. I told them how Cameron's a PR genius, that he made the No campaign against a slightly better voting system, even though it's crap, and I'm glad they didn't have it in some sense, but how he made it green so that we subconsciously go for it, and made the wording No so that we felt like we were rebels. I told him how Cameron's millions in his bank account doesn't exist because the banks make money that doesn't exist, and the reason Cameron wants us to pay that money back is because if we don't, his bank account goes to fucking zero like the rest of us. I told him about the basic income guarantee and how it could be funded by a sales tax, and how an argument that a sales tax makes the money disappear does not comprehend a proper argument against it, because we have a sales tax called VAT at the moment and that doesn't make the money disappear. I told him how I've had arguments with MPs about, well, if you had a basic income guarantee no one would work, and I have asked them, would you work? And they've said yes, and then I've got back to them and said, well, what makes you think anybody else won't work, you arrogant little prick? And that they haven't got back to me and answered that one. Although on question time I'm sure they'd say it was because of the abusive language in my return email. Fuck the lot of them. What else did I tell them? Told them lots. That was just a diatribe at you, wasn't it? It wasn't a full show. But some of the things I told them made me realise some of the things I've done with my life. I failed in every single one, but at least I tried. Did I fail? There are at least 20 people who came to the Fringe who now have heard of the basic income guarantee, how it could be funded. There are at least 20 people who've heard how the banks create money out of nothing. There are at least 20 people who've heard about a none of the above option on the ballot paper and why it would be truly democratic, because it gives the chance to kick everybody out. I didn't fail. There was a none of the above option on the ballot paper last year. No one used it. I'm sure the politicians will say no one used it because they didn't want it. I don't think so. And if they say that, I say, okay then, put an official one on there. And tell people that it's on there. If what I did that year failed because no one wanted it, why are you so scared to put a real one on there? Why are the media so scared to report it? They're not scared of it, they're not interested. Okay. Funny enough, all the people that I've talked about none of the above to in my audience today and the other day when I did it, thought it was an amazing idea. I think the politicians don't want it there. I don't think it's that they know that people aren't interested. That was my show. It wasn't a fool's show, but this isn't the place to come and do a hippie flipping fool's show. It's not safe enough. That's why I wear the costume. I've worked it out. That's why I wear the dark glasses and the hat. It creates safety for me, and the safer I feel as a performer, the more I can perform. If that makes me a neurotic idiot, then it does. I'm not like all the others with their scripts and they're running up and down the fucking mile pretending to be dead on the floor or whatever. I'm not trying to do that. I don't want a script, I just want to be me. Bitter, twisted, happy, funny, sad, tragic. I just want to be me, whatever one I am. Oh look, my hat's doing the proper thing. Hey! Yeah, I look like a proper fool. The girl didn't turn up, the Swedish girl. I'm glad I did though. Maybe there's a 1% chance I will do the show tomorrow, but I really don't think so. I'm going to end on that one because that feels like I buried the ghost from yesterday. And I can't guarantee if I go back in I'll do the same quality of show about the same thing tomorrow. And I might even try and do the same thing and it won't work tomorrow. One guy in the audience said that where could he look for zero none of the above on the internet? So he was sort of interested, wasn't he? That's the end of Eric's journey to Edinburgh. There's a story in there, a bloke walking along the sea and all these starfish are being washed up on the shore. And he's walking along picking one up at a time and throwing it back in the sea. For every one he throws back, 5 more arrive on the shoreline, and a bloke says to him, why are you doing that? What's the point? What difference does that make? Every time you throw one in, 5 more turn up. Anyone who knows mathematics knows that more and more of them are dying. What difference does it make? And he picks up another starfish. Just as he's about to throw it back, he says, it makes a difference to this one. If I've made a difference to one person's life through coming up here, it's been an expensive difference. Zero none of the above cost me about £1,300. Edinburgh this time round has cost me £1,800. That is £3,100 so far. But if I've made a difference to one person's life, £3,100 is fucking cheap. Because life is invaluable. Every single one. Mine included. I'm glad I did what I did. I would do it all again, even if I had exactly the same result. I'm not going to. I've got other things I want to do, and life's limited. Open space is my next project. That's where my passion lies from now on. Thank you, Edinburgh. Thank you, politics. The one thing I learned from politics as well, I came away from that zero none of the above thinking I don't want to be involved in politics anymore. Even if we form a new party next year, kick them all out or whatever. No, I just don't want to. It just feels horrible. I'm not interested in that. And I'm leaving Edinburgh not interested in being up here anymore. I'm not interested in performing and being a performing monkey or even if it's performing, there's some wonderful stuff over it, but I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to be a part of this or politics anymore. But I do still want to be involved around communities and with people and doing the open space stuff, so maybe I'll end up feeling the same way about that. But I've come to the end of the line with this, and I've come to the end of the line with politics. It was nice to tell the stories. My journey up here has been a story, and I may tell this story. You know what? I'd love to tell it. Sit around a campfire in the country, living in a teepee, or living in a, what they call it, not a bender, what's the proper one? You know, the fucking hut things. Anyway, living in a community, in the forest, with a stream, growing vegetables. That's it then. 10 minutes. No one's going to watch this. It's far too long. They need to be 3 minutes for people to watch. It wasn't a fool's show. It was the story of all my failures in a lot of ways, and I worked out they weren't failures. Maybe they liked it, maybe they didn't. It was informative. That's all that's important. This is Eric Much, Schizophrene. You're just jealous because the little voices are talking to me, and all the people walking past me are a little scared because all the little voices are talking into this camera. I don't care what sort of shows they do up here. I loved Phil K. I thought Phil K was excellent, but I don't fit in up here. I don't think I fit in the normal world, to be honest. But then, does anybody feel that? Does anyone truly feel like they fit in? Everybody's just trying to do their best to get through life the best they can. Sometimes I wish I was normal. Sometimes I'm glad I'm not. And sometimes I think I am. Eric Much, Schizophrene. Bye. Don't take it all too seriously, it's only a melodrama.